Well, Busby and I didn't get to see anything on this trip. No deer, although I see plenty of tracks in the snow. We didn't see any. I was going to come back on to talk about a Bigfoot show that I was listening to last night. I turn on Sasquatch Chronicles or Bigfoot Hotspot Radio at night when I go to bed. Quite often I fall asleep during the podcast, but every once in a while there's a guest on who is so credible and his story is so interesting that it actually keeps me awake because I want to hear it all to the very end. And last night was one of those. It was this young man who, Icelandic in nationality, whose family came over in the 1800s and have property, I think it was in the northeastern part of North Dakota that borders Canada. I don't know what province is above North Dakota, if it's British Columbia or Alberta or whatever. But he was saying his family has dealt with Sasquatch type creatures from the beginning. Back in the 1800s, his family came over and they built a dugout house. In the very first winter they were there, they had some encounters with creatures. And he said that they never really gave it a name, or them a name. They referred to that one as the monkey in the woods. And other than that, he said that his family just always refers to them as them, they, it. And he says he had a couple encounters, which he talked about in his talk last night. But he said, as far as interacting with them goes, they've never attacked his family, and his family has never attacked them. And they just sort of had this feeling that they're just part of the fauna of the environment. And it just felt like as long as they left them alone, they would leave the people alone. Just live and let live, sort of a deal. Sort of like sharing your property with coyotes, wolves, raccoons, deer, whatever. They were just part of the surrounding environment. He said that he's never really wanted to have anybody. He invited the speaker of Sasquatch Chronicles to come and do some recording, but he said his grandfather told him never point a gun at one of them, and it was just sort of part of that understanding that they just sort of lived and let lived. So he invited the talker to come, and he would show him around and see if they could encounter any of them. But he said he did not want to say where his property exactly was because he didn't want a bunch of Bigfoot Yahoo chasers to show up with guns running all over his property. Or I guess it belongs to his grandfather now, but one day he'll inherit it. He told a couple of stories of his own encounters with the resident Bigfoots. The first one, he said he was a kid, I don't remember how old, 9 to 12 or something, and he was out, I think, hunting with his grandfather, and he was sitting on a stump waiting on his grandfather when a deer, a buck, went running out of the woods, and pretty soon afterward, he said the largest creature he ever saw in his life outside of a zoo, bless you, Busby, came charging out after the buck, grabbed it by its antlers, raised it up off the ground while twisting its neck, breaking its neck, and then it just drug it after him back into the woods. And his second encounter, he was older, I think. I don't know if he was in his teens or 20s, but he said he was on his way to fish on the property when he was coming up toward the creek that was surrounded by bushes and shrubs, when one of them just all of a sudden stood up from where it was in the bushes. And this one was younger than the other one, about 7-8 feet tall. The older one, he said, was gigantic, maybe 11 feet tall. This one was shorter, and it started to act aggressive. And it was like it was going to come towards him in an angry manner. And he said every step I took backwards, it took one toward me. Until he said he heard a loud roar behind him, and automatically the one that was coming towards him, its facial expression changed from being anger to being scared, and it backed off. And he said as soon as the guy felt confident enough to turn around to see what had roared behind him, there was nothing there. He just heard something large moving off. So he suspected that it was the large one that he had encountered the first time that sort of warned this younger, aggressive one not to harm him. And so they were speculating maybe in every group there is an alpha male that sort of polices the group and keeps peace, keeps the young ones in line, provides, and all that sort of thing. It was very, very interesting talk. And what helped it be interesting was that the guy was very... Busby, this is the machine that you're so afraid of. Do you want to come over and look at it closely? Maybe you won't be afraid of it anymore. Yeah, this is the big tractor machine that scares you when you hear it. Yeah, do you want to come look? It's nothing to be scared of. Yeah, that's what you're so scared of all the time. But anyway, this guy was very articulate, very intelligent, which added to his credibility. It was very interesting interview. I encourage anybody that might be interested to look it up. Maybe I'll link add the link to my vlog in case anybody would like to listen to it. Anyways, we're back here, so I guess we're gonna clean up our feet and get back in the car. Bye.